Good morning. I'm Andrew Milton. I'm the professor of the course, Power and Influence. And I want to tell you a few things about the course and about myself and introduce our work to you. I'm sitting in my 8th grade classroom right now in DuPont, Washington, right across the street from Fort Lewis, or Joint Base Lewis-McChord. And there are 7 8th graders watching me do this, so if they laugh or make some sort of problem, then we'll have to reshoot this. I've been teaching at Troy University for about 10 or 12 years now. I've stopped counting because it reminds me of how old I am. But I've been doing it online for this is just the second term of fully online. So, welcome to the course, and I look forward to seeing your own introductions on the website, and hearing you talk about your background in the program. And I've been teaching international politics for 17 years, 8 years full time at various universities mostly around Washington State, and then, like I say, 10 or 11 years at Troy part time. What I hope to do in the course, for you to do in the course, is to get a sense of what international politics is like by way of studying power and influence, which are essential elements of the study of international relations. And when I say power and influence, what I want you to think about for the first week of the term, when you do those first posts on what is power and who is more powerful, is to understand that in some senses power is perhaps concretely measured in one way, according to one theoretical construction, and it's constructed in another way. It's something we can imagine differently according to whichever sets of ideas we want to use to study the material. So if you tend to be a realist, for instance, you'll be measuring tanks and guns, and if you tend to be a constructivist, for instance, you'll be tending to think about other measures of power and how people use those. That's not to say you should know any of this already or have thought this through. I'm just saying, when I talk about power and influence, I want you to try to imagine the different ways that we can think about power, and that the ways that power can create influence opportunities for people or states. Traditionally, of course, when I was coming up, we would think about power as a measure of what states had vis-a-vis other state actors. And the non-state actors would be the international non-governmental organizations, or international governmental organizations like the UN, or individual groups or individual people like terrorists or sub-state actors, the Catholic Church, for instance. That was just less relevant in the way we studied international politics back then, and of course it's incredibly relevant today. So I'm not thinking of power in a particular way that you must think of it. I want you to figure out what you think of power and influence, how power is created and used, and what influence opportunities it generates for people and for states. That being said, I always find it useful to start with the traditional notions of how things operate. And so the idea of tanks and guns is relevant in the world, especially since in the United States in particular uses instruments of force to try to influence things in the world to some varying levels of success. So it starts there, but as well, you'll notice on the who's more powerful work that I've asked you to do the rankings, there are individuals and groups and sub-state actors named there. And in fact, I'll pick on him a lot, but Bono has some sort of influence in the world greater than I have, and there's a reason for that, and it may be beneficial or destructive. I don't know. I'll let you argue that out amongst yourselves or amongst all of us. But my point is, there are other people who are relevant besides national governments, and I want you to be thinking about that and evaluating what you think that means in international politics. I'll say more about this kind of amorphous topic later, but I wanted to just give you a sense of what I'm thinking. I don't have an expectation of you understanding power in a particular way. I want you to work through all the ways that you think you see power and influence happening, especially how power creates influence in what ways. Those are very broad and generic words, and I want to try to put some specificity to them. In particular, thinking about power causing influence and whether it does or not. Okay. Let me say, the course. My expectation about the course is that you get on the website and do the work that I have there, which is basically three things: read the readings, and then do the posts each week about the readings. And I would hope I didn't require that each of us respond to somebody during the week, but I would hope that periodically you would do that. The requirement is that you do the reading and then you post your response to the questions for the reading each week by Friday. I would hope you would sometimes also respond to each other, and I'll try to respond to you. And I would hope that you'd, if I ask you questions to follow up, that you'd respond to those as well. There's a midterm exam about week 6. That'll be based on the readings primarily, and it'll be an essay of some sort. And then there'll be a paper as well, which to me is the heart and soul of the course, an 8 to 10 page term paper that will be answering some sort of question about power and influence. Well, the question about international relations with respect to power and influence, or framed through the lens of power and influence, which is really to say, find a puzzle, something that's curious or something you don't understand about international politics, and try to generate an answer to that puzzle, solve the puzzle, answer the question. Let me give you a couple examples that are always easy to do. If we speak of something called an axis of evil, and we put 3 countries in that, Iran, Iraq, and North Korea, why is it that we've responded differently to all 3 of them? Why in one case do we attack one, bribe the other, and then negotiate with the third? This is not, I mean, there are hundreds of potential answers. And it's not that I'm interested in you finding what is the correct answer. I think there's many answers that are useful. It's that you've identified this puzzle, and then you offer up some of the answers. And I'm not expecting you to find a brand new puzzle that no one's ever seen before. I'm not expecting you to offer answers no one has ever offered. I want to practice the process of identifying something worth explaining, and then explain. And you're, in a sense, entering into the discussion, the scholarly discussion about this topic, about this issue, and offering up your own analysis. And that's in a master's program. That's in a sense what you're doing is you're training yourself up to participate in this dialogue at a higher level. So look for something puzzling that you found puzzling or curious, and I will work with basically anything that's about international politics. Another example that I described in some small measure in the material that's posted on the website is, if NATO was created to an alliance created to stand firm against the Soviet Union, why does it still exist after the Soviet Union has collapsed? What's its rationale? And again, there are lots of people have already addressed this. There's interesting answers out there. And I'm happy for you to go read those and then rehearse those for me and say, here's what you think the best answer is so far. That's the point isn't to find something brand new. That's where you do a doctoral dissertation. The point is for you to go out there and find puzzles and answer them. I mean, another one, if realism holds force, in other words, that power, military power in an anarchic world is what really matters, then why does Canada not have to worry that the United States will take it over at some point? Why is it that the people with whom we have the most conflict are those with whom we have the most engagement, yet so many of those we don't have violent conflict with? Why not? Why do we have violent conflict with people we have really, in some degree, in some senses, very little engagement with? So there's lots of things that need explaining. Find the ones that are interesting to you, and then answer those or explain those. And we'll talk more about the paper. I'll talk more about the paper. You can ask me about the paper, but I want you to get some sense of what you need to be thinking about. I'll post short videos like this. I'll try to keep them about 10 minutes or shorter so that you don't have to spend a lot of time watching me. I'll try to, if I find something else interesting, I'll post that as well. If you find something you think's worth me posting, let me know. Send it to me. I'll look at it, read it, and if it is, I'll post it, and we can talk about that. But otherwise, I look forward to hearing from you each week on the response to the reading, and then for the paper, the exam about the 6th week, and the paper would be due the date of the final exam, and that would be about the whole sum total of our course. And I'll see you again soon for another Fireside Chat number 2. Thanks.